Well, contrary to what's generally thought by Christianity and the purpose of Christianity, Jesus did not come to change the world. He didn't come to make it Christian. He didn't come to impose his view, his values on others. He wasn't there to convince Pilate he should be Christian. Came to those who had ears to hear, that wished to change themselves. Yes, it's true that if the world were full of saints, the place would be a heaven. But it's not. There are a few who seek to change themselves. And if you like to become right with God, you see, it would take God to transform the entire world. So Christianity assumed the presence of God means we can be moving towards it. That may or may not be the case, or perhaps it's such a large job that, if you like, even God takes time achieving this. And a lot of time, perhaps aeons, or perhaps as Eastern religion saw it, far, far more than that. Perhaps millions of lifetimes. Is this good news for you? No, it's extreme negativity. Because we're self-interested and I want heaven now. Right. In that case, you've come to the right place to listen to what Jesus might say, which is how you might ascend to heaven now. I mean, the whole thing seems, to the secular, a bit absurd because, we're now looking at a hope that's beyond hope to them. Quite reasonably in terms of one's experience. One's only got cognition, consciousness of a presence here. We have no notion of what heaven really could or might be. We just look at what we have and think, well, surely there's something better. Yes, there is. But it's not here. And it's not been here for thousands of years. And this negativity is overwhelming without a trust in God. Because we get so unhappy about the unhappiness around us, even if our life is absolutely wonderful. It's not that the rich young ruler hated everybody else and therefore kept all his money to himself. He was probably a pragmatist, so to speak, that, I keep the commandments and the world hasn't changed. Well, what am I supposed to do? I'm not happy about the world. I'm not happy about me in it. I do keep the commandments. And then Jesus points out, well, yes, you keep the social commandments, but that's not really what is needed. It's not that you come to relate well to the world. It's that you're here to transform yourself into, if you like, a unit, a person, a being that can be in heaven without wrecking the place, and that can actually benefit from the perfection of heaven. At the minute you're a child, and if I put you in the world, you just get wiped out. It's a dangerous place. You say, but no, surely heaven's a safe place. It's a safe place, but it's not giving you your freedom as an adult yet. It doesn't say, here's the keys, kid, go and do what you like with the car. It keeps you confined here in this world. Because this world, well, presumably, is ideal to train you, to long for heaven. And it's when you long for heaven, as opposed to a perfection of earth, that you seek to understand, know God as your solution, not the transformation of the school. You know, it's not that when I grow up I'm going to abolish schools. You know, even the children, well, I don't know, if you've got a really tough, horrible school, in a sense you do. You like Marshall, you say, well, when I grow up I'm going to encourage everybody to have homeschool because I think that's the way to go, so that they can have relationships and love each other. Whereas school seems to be a very poorly policed hell of a place for many kids. So yes, Jesus does come to rescue, but it's those who have ears to hear, if you like, who haven't been here long enough to experience the good and the bad that's in this world, and just long in their hearts for a heaven, for the world becoming heavenly. Well, that's a misunderstanding. For the world to become, no, not to become anything. It is what it is. And by being here, I've come to long for heaven. And therefore, you might say, long for God. Not the other way around. Long for God, and therefore get heaven. No, I come as a child. I just want the ice cream. You know, I don't want to go to school. I want to play with my friend all day. And when I'm exhausted, go home to Mum. I'm tired now. Have you got any biscuits? You know. No, love, we got tea, supper. Oh, what we got for supper? So-and-so. Oh, have we? Oh, well, I suppose it's better than nothing. I'd rather have had cake and biscuits, you know. Yes, love, I know. Well, I'll tell you what, have a piece of cake afterwards, when we're sitting by the fire. Now, eat this up, love, because it does you good, and you'll be a big, strong, healthy boy. Okay. You see, we need love, not my law and order imposed on the world. It won't take that. It'll just want to kill me. There's no point in that. I've not come to overthrow the emperor. I'm not his enemy. If he wants the taxes, well, we pay taxes. God can provide us with enough income to pay the taxes. You know, it's that sort of approach. You may say, but he doesn't, you know, and the emperor wants more than we can give, and we should rise up and remove the emperor and put one of us in charge. Didn't you read Animal Farm? The one that you put in charge will be just as big a nightmare. The pigs, when they rule, are frightening. You know, this meek little soul, for instance, that's absolutely crushed now by the world system. If you give them power, it's frightening. They become, as the pigs, frighteningly powerful and treat the rest of the animals appallingly. That's what Animal Farm's about. It's not that, you know, we are saints, and if you put me in charge, my world is then wonderful compared to the world that you have at present. It's just as bad. And that's the incredible distress of it. And why your soul should long for God. Something other than this world, not an imposition on it, to make it perfect in our childish misunderstanding of what perfection is, which is me having my way and others all coming round to my view. They don't. And they want to kill each other because they don't come round to each other's view. And if they really have to put up with each other at too close a quarter, even couples that love each other, at least one of them comes to hate, and usually both. Well, I don't know, is that too negative to say usually both? Look, I'm not positive in terms of I think this world's going to be eventually wonderful. No, I don't. I'm not a millenniumist in that way, a new heaven and a new earth. That's not my literature. My literature is very narrowly what's called gospel, but not Christian gospel, Jesus gospel. And I'm very picky and choosy about what in the Jesus story I truly value. And those bits that I truly value, I do strongly, truly value. And the others I look at and think, that's not my God. My God is not someone who judges. My God is not someone with a concept of blame. My God is an awesome God. He reigns in heaven above. In wisdom, yes. Power, yes. And love. And really, Jesus puts it the other way round. The first word he says is, in a prayer, is always, Father. He stresses the relationship on which he understands he wants to come, that you, Almighty God, are my dad and loves me. If that isn't so, I despair, because that's what I value and need above all else. Almighty, powerful God that loves me. And I don't know that you even exist. All I know is that that's what I want. And this is the positivity side that one can't see if one's secular. The positive side is that it's mine already, because he is my dad that loves me. And I don't wish to believe anything else. And when I believe this, and this is the important thing, I find that I am blessed beyond compare. And I am so relieved I transcend in a state of euphoric joy, peace, hope, overwhelming gratitude, thankfulness, love of this God that I presuppose from my despair at my experience of living in this world. So I was appalled when they said, Marshall, you're so negative. And my friend, who is secular, says to me, fancy calling you negative. You know, what he meant was I was the most positive person and good friend in his life. Do you see how this secular person is such an incredible encouragement to me? In a bizarre way, he has ears to hear, whereas the religiously inclined, those that have faith in the world, those that believe they can bring heaven on earth on a time scale that's meaningful, namely in their present lifetime, or at least substantially improve it, or at least we could attend to and try and work out what would make things a lot better. Well, you will find I don't mean I'm proving it to you, but my experience is you will find that you make here, this world, a lot better when you come to devote yourself to a God, your God, that personifies your values, that definitely, without question, loves you and probably all other life, but just loves you. And you start purpose to worship this God of yours, you will find, is my experience, that you will be quickly taught a much clearer view of him, clearer than you start with now. And that this coming to know God is an incredible blessing to you that no way will he just put behind you to forget about. You will know in your heart you do love God, because that's who you are, and that's who he is, the personification of what you value now, not what you should value, what you do value. I mean, how many people don't value kindness? How many people don't value love at heart? How many people don't value peace and joy, hope, overwhelming gratitude, wisdom, but a wisdom that, I mean, someone even said to me, well, I don't want your harmony imposed on me. No, of course not. I understand that. Which is bizarre, because harmony means peace and joy and not being at war. In other words, what they may have said, whether they meant it or not, they didn't realize the implication, but what do you mean you don't want harmony? Not that whether I'm right or wrong in wishing that I lived in a place that's harmonious. But what do you mean you don't value harmony? I can't imagine a person who doesn't want their family to love them instead of being at war, their neighbours to love them instead of being at war, the nations of the world to love each other instead of being at war. Surely we value that. We may despair that it doesn't seem to be coming about in our lifetime, and we really can't see how to change the system or even reliably what the way to go is to achieve such. And Jesus comes into the Jesus story and says, look, this is not going to do it. This is not going to cut the cake. To thine own self be true. What brings this harmony and joy? To know my love of you. That he's Dad. So I choose to trust. I choose to trust that God is all loving and we are here for a good purpose. And I can't live believing anything else. It's a nightmare. And not only that, but when I do live believing that this is true, that God exists, and that we are loved of him, I find my life here transformed. It doesn't transform everybody else's life. Only those that have ears to hear. Others wish to live and endure here longer. They hang on tenaciously for life here, for they feel there is no other, and therefore here must against all things somehow work out. Perhaps it's a long upward journey. Perhaps we're fighting with principalities of powers of selfishness and so on. Do you see the Christian religion actually does embrace the horror of being secular, This place is a nightmare of a battle, and we must win the battle and overcome evil, and anyone that personifies such, we must destroy them. So, all our enemies are not just bad, they're insane as well. They're irrational, they're monsters, they're not human. And, if we do have a victory, well, we will have a Nuremberg advertising job, and, well, we will kill them. And then nations of the world will be satisfied that we've destroyed evil, much of it from us, and that we can have a new way forward, and that tomorrow will be lovely. Not the frightening wars we've had since, which we euphemistically call Cold Wars. They were not Cold Wars. They were terrifyingly hotter wars than we've ever had before. We may not, in the actual war, have killed on the same huge numbers, but with our ethnic cleansing, we continue to kill stupendous numbers. And very often, like Stalin and Chairman Mao, the greatest killings are on our own people. And of course we do it in the name of progress. We bring in an agricultural revolution that collectivizes the peasant's land. How do we do it in Russia or China? Well, we do it by starving the peasant. We don't just move him off into the city. A great bulk of the peasantry we just killed. And I say we, I mean mankind, not the enlightened West that, well, the enlightened West, of course, fears that it's being done by conspiratorial means. But we won't go into that, because it's just conspiracy theory. You have no proof. In fact, we have no proof of the numbers we killed in India. We could say it was not our purpose to kill all the people in India. It's just that our raping of the country to fight our enemies. Well, we were raping the country to fight our enemies from the beginning. We went there as a seafaring power, a maritime power that's come to exploit. And we did. And of course, if you exploit heavily, countless millions of the population die. It's on a Stalin scale. In fact, it's on a Genghis Khan scale. In fact, it's on, well, a British scale, which was probably greater than all. We, if you want to take that collective view, the nation of especially Anglo-Europeans are the destroyers of the world on a scale that even makes Genghis Khan look like an amateur, because we do it sustained through time. We are eternally wasting away the margin that we don't want. I mean, this is a conspiracy theory, you say, as is absurd. This is making a conspiracy theorist look like an amateur. Look, if we make Stalin look like an amateur, or Mao, my goodness, that's a bit negative, isn't it? And this negativity is too much, and I say we again, I mean it's a very royal we, someone else, not us. always, when my dad says, then we did so and so. What, you mean you helped build it? No, no, I had paid for it to be done, old chap. It's the royal we. Old men that create wars for young men to die in. Yeah. Well, it's good news. Secular good news. We've come to an age where we don't need cannon fodder. And we've come to an age where we don't need work and labour any longer. We have our robots. We have our capital. You mean the enslavement's over? Yes. And the need to have slaves is over. I don't need to feed them. I don't need to keep them. I don't need people. The state may move in. I'm not sure. I hope to goodness it's not true, but it looks as though we're moving into a state where the state does not need people any longer. Does that mean we'll keep all the population in some ideal heavenly state of provision without work and without war and without death? I don't think that is feasible at present here in this world. Do you? And as secular people, we shudder at even the possibility of such appalling state. Not wonderful heavenly state, but appalling state where man is not needed. Will he survive? No. Not in a selfish secular world. He won't. No, you're right. You need God more than you've ever needed God before. Of course. If the pressure's not great enough, this great classroom, this school that we're in, the physical universe, will put the pressure on us even harder, that our souls cry out for there being a loving God, a God not just of power and answers and wisdom, but kindness, empathy, compassion. In fact, a God that sees us as the same as him, born of him, his kids. I mean, is this positive or an absolute stupid fantasy? From the secular point of view, it's a fantasy. From the desperate point of view, it's life itself. I reach out to a God that might exist, rather than a God that might well not. Because I've seen what happens when he doesn't exist. And it's terrifying. It's horrific. It's worse than horrific. It's something that you would go out of your mind if you put your mind to the true misery and unhappiness and pain and suffering. Not just this human world, but every cubic meter of earth out there, outside of this place you're sitting, beyond where you're under what you're standing on. In fact, even your body is a merciless destruction of any cell that is not playing its part in the empire that you call your body. And it's discarded. You trim the nails. You throw them away. You throw away any product that you see as waste, and you put it in the sewerage plant or down the bottom of the garden. And you hope to goodness it's used to good in some way, because otherwise it will choke your planet. You hope that your waste does not choke your planet. You desperately seek a cleaner, greener land on the road to Mandalay. On the road to Mandalay, where the flying fishes play, and the dawn comes up like thunder out of China, across the bay. And though I walks with 50 housemaids out to Chelsea to the Strand, and they talk a lot of loving, what do they understand? beefy face and grubby hand, Lord, what do they understand? I've a neater, sweeter maiden in a cleaner, greener land, on the road to Mandalay. On the road to Mandalay, where the flying fishes play, and the dawn comes up like thunder out of China, across the bay. You have to be Gnostic, even to understand Rudyard Kipling. How much more to understand Jesus in the decimated story of Jesus that's come into our being, into our hands. And yes, I do throw out lots of the story as not being valid. It's not valid for me. Why? Because I long for a God that is indeed my heavenly dad, that sees me not as alien to himself, something evil and fallen, but sees me as his child, whom he will bring to glory, and there is nothing that can stop him. This is my hope. This is my positivity. Not that I can make you wonderful and this earth, this planet, this nation, this whole place of humanity into something perfect. I despair at that impact. I am extremely negative about the possibility of such, and N thousand years of what I can see of it, albeit not the truth, only the historicity of it, screams at me that it's not going to happen, doesn't happen, that the world is not a better place in many ways than it was ever. In some ways it seems more frightening. But at the same time, no, you're right, I wouldn't want to live in the past. And I wouldn't like to live in any country other than the one I'm living in. But I'm not convinced we're safe. Far from it. I'm extremely negative about my position here. And therefore, because of that, I long for God. And I find in my despair when I turn, well, I wasn't in despair. I know most people that come to claim they know God seem to have been in despair, but I actually wasn't. I was in love, and so thankful to God in the peace and the joy that I felt, and the way I was seeing the world, that I realized how much I wanted God to exist. I didn't come through this torturous way of negativity. I came through a joy and a peace that was there simply because I was in love with someone. And bizarrely you would have thought, but you didn't have her. Why weren't you wretched and distressed? I don't know. I think it was something to do with realizing I wanted her to have what would make her happy. I got that easily. Just let her go, Marshall, and she can have the fellow she wants. So I did. I'm simply glad that she existed. You know, my fantasy view of her, of course. What I'd projected upon her of being this beautiful, wonderful person. She was no more beautiful and wonderful than I felt I was, really. I expect. Almost certainly. I mean, she may have been the angel I hoped she was, but my experience is that people are not. It's just my projection on them. But do you just love yourself then, Marshall, because you're willing to be in a state of joy and happiness without her? I had no choice, didn't I? suppose without realizing it, I knew I had no choice. I could choose this love to continue, or I could choose for it to evaporate because I didn't have her. No, I love her, and I want her to be happy, and I can make her happy by getting out of her life fast. So I did, because I loved her. I felt I knew what love was at last. Mum had been very loving, and as I saw it, very selfless towards me. And now I was selfless too. And the joy of knowing I'd understood what love is overwhelmed me, and I therefore wanted a God that personified such. What's he like? It's an all-powerful God that loves me. Oh, is that feasible? Doesn't look like it. But I know what I love. I know what I want. Now I can rationalize it in hindsight and say, but, well, every hope is uncertain. Why not choose the hope that you truly value? How can you really love anything other than what you truly value? So I can be very intellectual and rational about it in my tiny way. But I won't know if such is the answer unless I practice it. So I do. I have ears to hear that there might be a God that, or even might not be, but I can't hope for anything less. A God that will put everything right in some sense. And that sense may be in dimensions I've no comprehension of. And probably as a child of God, that is true. I run with this. I find it extremely encouraging. And what I find encouraging is the amazing miracles that happen as I do this. That both astonishes me and gives me a conviction, overwhelming at times, that I'm so on the right path. And at other times I'm still here. I'm still here alive, aren't I, in this universe? And I despair with the secular that things are so bad and needn't be. In some sense, perhaps needn't be. Hope against hope needn't be. But it's not coming from that side that has brought me the kingdom of heaven. It's coming from the side of being in a state of joy and love that made me long for this for all life. That's what I want. And it's beyond me that anyone could want anything other than this. I actually think at heart, all people want this. You know, it's beyond me that people don't have ears to hear. But of course it's because, well, I don't know, but it might be because they haven't experienced love. How could they long for something they've not experienced? And that's why it's so important to be in this world and to fall in love. And some people say, no, I don't think I've ever actually fallen in love. Well, you're probably right then, because it's so overwhelming when it happens that you'd know it. And I would have thought no matter how long you lived afterwards, you would still know what it was like to be in the fantasy of having fallen in love with someone and projected upon them all that you truly value and love them for it. And of course I say this is terrible negativity, isn't it? With practice it wore thin. and they stopped loving you as you saw it. And this made you stop loving them as you saw it. And the whole thing turned to custard. And that was a horror and unhappiness that no one can withstand, and desperately turned to wanting God to exist, because you want a world that's better than the one you're in. It's not just that I want the world to be better. I want me to experience it being better. Well, that's not the way it is. We're not making the classroom, the school, a perfect world. We're making it a perfect classroom that will bring you into a harmony, part of a perfect world, and it's not this one. This is the school. It's rather another one that I can't explain or verify for you, because we're kids here. But I long to be grown up like Mum and Dad. And I trust that they are able to be happy in this grown-up world that they live in. So I think of God as my heavenly Dad and as existing. And I find this gives me great peace of mind and great joy and great hope and great thankfulness. Overwhelming gratitude that powers me along to love him all the more and make loving God with all heart, soul, mind and strength conceivably possible, even here and now. So I find the kingdom of God has come unto me, that this God dwells in me, this reality of God. Fantasy, you say. Look, it's all fantasy. When you fall in love, you've projected your idea of the perfect, your idea of your values onto this other being. And it's fantasy. They are who they are, and you are who you are. Chaotic child who's at school. Well, I wish to be in a home school where Mum and Dad are present, or at least Mum. Very compassionate, very kind, provider of all. One I can always go to, one that loves me. Why should she be so wonderful? I don't know, I just know she is, thank God, and has rescued me now. Don't wish to go to school. I wish to be in her company. Just to be with Mum is fine. And then a restlessness comes on me as a child. I want to play with other kids who are as scatty as I am. And she's happy that I play with my friends. If you're from a big family, she's very happy that you play with the other members of the family. Be good to each other. Don't fight. Don't be horrible. I love you all. I want you to love each other. How can I love you when I know you're being horrible to each other? Please be kind to your sister. Be kind to your younger brother. Be a blessing, as Mum and Dad are a blessing. Where would you be without us being a blessing to you? It would be hell, a nightmare, a frightening situation, and we don't want this for any child. How much more God doesn't want it for you, your God. Bless you. So I find selfishness in the child a great blessing. It keeps him here, close in the family. And I find even fear a great blessing, that he doesn't want to stray out of the control of Mum and Dad, because their control is his safety and provision and peace and home, and there's no other place like it. Well, that's the sort of hope I have, that despite all it appears, God has it okay. He's an all-powerful God that loves us. Therefore, despite how I as a child see it, I reach out to, this is 45 minutes. How could I have talked so long? I'm so sorry. Do I break this down into 3 or 4 short units, or will it lose the flow? I don't know. Those who have ears, though, may they hear, let them hear. Thank you, Heaven.